Hey, Winston Templet here with the Real Estate Template with Scott Avery. And we'll do that introduction again in a little bit when we get a few more people on. So a lot of y'all haven't met Scott before, so I'm gonna let Scott give a brief definition of his experience in the industry of real estate and development and cities and different stuff like that. Let him explain who he is, what he's about, and what he's doing now within our company, and how we expect to grow that, what we expect to do with it, and how we really expect to deliver a lot of information to other people. So who are you and what are you about?
So as Winston said, my name's Scott Avery. I work for Stay Pro now. I'm a recovering public servant. I was a public servant for 35 years and have been here since February. But my main focus is operations, trying to get operations going in a concurrent direction so that we can start moving things forward, and the development will come into play because the direction the company's taken is my hope. I started out as an EMT, paramedic, firefighter, police officer, and did that for most of my career. Retired in 2019 as a fire chief and went into city management, and then I did city management. So I did city manager for 5 years. In the early 2000s, I sat on a planning and zoning commission for the city I lived in. And I did that for, I believe it was 8 years, and voted on a lot of projects. We're building like 2,000 homes a year, several businesses. All these things were coming through planning and zoning. So I really got a feeling for that then. But I've also been certified as an inspector and did inspections throughout my career. So that that's really where I'm coming from with my experience and my background.
And we're trying to cover all aspects of everything that we do. Him and I both went, 4 months ago and got certified for stormwater. Mm-hmm. So we got certified with stormwater because we was doing some land development stuff and want to understand the stormwater a little bit better and be able to regulate ourselves in that stormwater also, and not have to be dependent on somebody else to regulate us. So, you know, we're very much pro-education. If there's something that we need to go learn, we're going to go freaking figure it out. It's been as bad out. We own a HUD development over in South Pittsburgh, and I think you had to read a 400-page book or something. It was like one night. He went home and read that whole book and came back and took a test on it, and to get everything done and what needed to be done with that. But that's a huge asset. We have talked about in the past, if you've watched the videos, we've talked about some of my favorite books. And one of my favorite books is Good to Great. And Good to Great talks about making sure that you put great employees in positions, great people that are going to make it happen, and not just your buddies and your friends. And I think that in business, I have failed so much in business by hiring friends, by hiring my buddies, by hiring a family member that you think you can fix them and you think you can help them out. But they don't have the drive that you have. They don't have the desire you have. Right. So when Scott became available, when he left the city of Millersville and became available for employment, I scooped him up that night and offered him a job. And offered him a job, I didn't know where he would actually fit within our company. But we knew that you was an asset no matter how we looked at it. You was an asset, and there was tremendous amounts of value. So I will buy that value now, and we will figure out how to integrate that value into the company later. But we're not going to let somebody else come in and scoop you up. Now, through that, when he came in, I didn't know that what he could do or couldn't do. And I had high expectations, but I didn't have high expectations immediately. You know, immediately I thought, okay, it's going to take a long time to acclimate. It's going to take this, it's going to take that. And it really didn't. I mean, he jumped right in, figured it out. I would fail if I got to read a bunch of books to make something work. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with that crap. He loves that. He thrives in that environment. So the environment I don't like is definitely an environment that he takes from me and makes that happen. And if you're out there building businesses and trying to make things happen, you need to look at that whenever you're building. Do you have somebody that can read a book and take a test? Do you have somebody that you have gotten tons and tons and tons of stuff together for the HUD project, the HUD development, for different things for different people. You're always, that's what you do all day long, is and you thrive in that environment.
Right.
I would want to kill myself after about 2 days of that.
You know,
So-
it's a systems things, and Scott was talking when he was in town.
Yeah.
Scott was talking to us about that. You know, that I'm a systems guy, and it's about those systems. And I think the other side of it is working in the emergency services for so long. I'm also a cat herder, and I think that's what was missing was someone to herd the cats and get systems in place. And that's really what I've been doing, is trying to move that direction with everything and get things to a point where they're better than they were last month.
Yeah. Well, you're good at that. So my background comes from service, and it comes from, I ran a company for 30 years that offered a 1-hour response time on any emergency service calls, running 70 employees. So I was herding cats in a different way.
Right.
And everything, I am not a planner and stuff, because my life has always been, you call me now, I'm gonna be there in an hour, I'm gonna fix whatever you got. I don't really care what you call me about. I'm not gonna sit here and think about it, dwell on it. I'm just gonna go take care of it. And that's just what's gonna happen. You're more of that guy that you strategically are planning every step out, and you want it all laid out in a path, which complements what I do, because I come in and I, seagull manage everything, and then I leave. And I need somebody else to take what I just threw out there and said, I need this to be implemented. I need somebody else to implement it. So the fit in our company is really good. I think that the way our company is organized right now is the best that this company has ever been organized. And the results we're getting are better than any results we've ever gotten in the past. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And, it's a situation where as we figure out direction and what we're going to focus on, I think it becomes more important to move the employees along and help them understand that direction and what we're going to focus on, and to get buy-in from them, and that was important to me when I was in city government, and it's important to me here.
So let's stop right there. To get buy-in from them. Who needs buy-in from them?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So another illustration in the book Good to Great is they'll talk about people who got a big boulder rock they got to push up a mountain, and you got 2 people pushing up the mountain, you got another person pushing down the mountain, and you got one person on one side pushing it on the left-hand side and somebody on the other side pushing. Everybody pushing in different directions.
Right.
And I do believe we were there whenever you came on board with us. We were all pushing in different directions. Nobody had clarity in anything, and it was like herding cats, like you said. Yeah. And we have brought that level. So if you're listening to this, Nick's going to post this video also. I mean, it's definitely something you ought to watch a couple of times, because it will take your company to a completely different level when you have the right people in the right positions. And it's not the matter that somebody can or can't do something. When Christina was working here, Christina could do any of the stuff. But the problem was Christina did not like doing the office stuff, and she did not like doing a lot of stuff she's doing. And when you don't like doing it, I struggle to do anything I don't like to do. I just struggle to do it. I'd rather give it to somebody else that enjoys that. And that's what makes us all so cool, is everybody's got something that they enjoy.
Right.
And put you in that box of the stuff that you enjoy, and you excel. Take you out that box, put you in a box where you don't enjoy it, and you don't excel any longer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
And I can go back, and I've told you this story before. When I was fire chief, I had a firefighter, and I was talking to him about promoting, because he was that unofficial leader in the firehouse. And I was like, you'd be a great company officer, you'd be a great, and he's like, I don't want to promote. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? He said, I just want to be the best backwards riding firefighter I can. And what that basically is the firefighter in the back seat of the fire truck rides backwards. And that's what he wanted to do. And I said, okay, let's make you the best backwards riding firefighter we can. And started getting him into classes and training and focusing on other things. And about a year later, maybe 8 months, he applied for the promotion, and I promoted him. And it was that conversation about how do we make you the best backwards riding firefighter we can. And that's what you got to look at is what are your goals? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to end up? And how do we get you there?
Yeah.
And people used to make fun of me and give me a hard time as a fire chief because all the other fire departments were hiring my guys away from me. What a compliment.
Yeah.
What a compliment. Because I was training my guys so well that the department that was paying $30,000 a year more than I was, guys wanted to go work there. And I encouraged them. Go work
Well,
there.
I
and
mean,
make
who
more
doesn't
money.
want their people to do better than what they're doing? I mean, I used to have employees all the time. I mean, they would come and somebody offer them a better paying job. You can take the better paying job if you want.
Right.
I don't think it's a better company, but you're welcome to take the better paying job.
Yeah.
And almost everybody that left me to go work for more money always came back because the environment was so much better.
Yeah.
So you produce that environment, and when people know that you care about them, they really do react differently to everything.
Oh,
They react
absolutely,
differently.
absolutely. And that's really the figuring out part, and there's a line, everything's figure outable.
Nick, if you get any questions that need to come to us, just let us know. So
Everything's figure outable.
I heard the figure outable.
Yeah, we can figure it out. And the gentleman who used to be the permit clerk at City Hall,
Yeah.
I actually bought him that sign for his desk because he was the guy constantly figuring stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And I said everything's figure outable, and he would figure it out. And that's what we have to really look at is who's our person for this. It's just like when one of the maintenance people once talked to me today about mold in one of the houses under the counter. And I'm like, whatever you need, mold, I don't. We got to stop it. We have to get rid of it. So let's take care of that. And they move forward with it. So that's really something that needs to be understood, and it's starting to be understood. I hope it feels that way.
Yeah, it's irritating for somebody if that's your job. If you got mold under a kitchen sink, I mean, we're going to spray it down with some bleach. We're going to kill the mold. It's over.
Yeah.
There really isn't a conversation somebody's got to come talk to you about. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
So that's where we're really at, and I think the focus is really sliding through things. And I think the biggest thing that I can help with here is the fact that my code enforcement, planning and zoning background really plays well into what we're doing. And when we have questions, I usually can answer them.
So we are coming in to a set of classes we got coming up in June or September 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And we've been selling these classes for $2,000 a couple.
Right.
And we get the turnout, but I don't think we're struggling with the actual people walking away and the amount of people that are doing deals because there's so much information. It's like you're getting fed with a funnel or a shovel, and it's a lot of information. So we're trying to figure out how to make that work better for people. And we're going to come in and we're going to reduce the price of that function down. We're going to get more people in. We're going to still give everybody the exact same information we was giving them before, which we're going to touch on creative financing through lease options. We'll touch on wholesaling a little bit. We're going to touch on planning and zoning, and basically we're not just going to touch on it. We're going to dive into planning and zoning stuff and getting stuff approved through the city through land development deals. We're going to go through fixing rehabs, fixing flips. We're going to talk about how to run your numbers, how to get security in the jobs. And when you cover all of that stuff in 3 days, every one of those things is a minimum of another 3-day class, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I want to talk about land development, that's a 3-day class. If I want to talk about the BRRRR method, that's a 3-day class. If we want to talk about lease options, that's a 3-day class. We're throwing all of that into a 3-day class as a whole. So coming out of it, what we're going to be doing, and I'm transparent, so anybody that knows me knows I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to do. But so our thought is, as we give everybody information, we're gonna tag on to the backside of that anybody that wants to buy, let's say somebody's wanting to do a land development deal, then we would partner with them and help walk them through this land development deal for a fee. And if somebody wants to do the BRRRR method and they're just too afraid to do it on their own, we will partner with them and we will do it with them for a fee.
Exactly.
And so, we're hoping, I'm going to throw this out there. We haven't really discussed this yet. I think we'll just probably drop those class prices down to like $275 and per person, not per couple, because we feed everybody and everything. And,
Right.
and that is a break-even number for us.
Yeah, that
at
covers
best.
the food and drinks.
It's just covering that. So we'll do that, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if we bring in more people, because the ticket is to fill the room up.
Yeah.
And have enough people that are learning, and they can come back. It's easy enough to come back for that little bit of money.
Exactly.
And I don't know how that's going to look, because I've had some people complain that the prices were too cheap and they didn't come to the classes because it was too cheap, and how could they have value at that? But we'll be upfront with people and just say, I've never sold anything at the classes before.
No.
And is it going to be, this isn't a high impact sale or anything like that. It's just going to be a, hey, this is what we're willing to offer you. I don't even know what it looks like yet. We'll just figure it out. It's not what we do now, but it's definitely the direction we want to go in. So
Right.
let's just take that leap today and we'll move on to it and we'll move that. So Nick, I guess you need to change all of our stuff from 2,000 a couple to 275 per person. And we refund anybody who's already got the stuff back, their money. So what we're going to talk about?
Well, I've told you Winston's got me listening some really good podcasts from multiple people, and a topic that kind of rubs me the wrong way is the topic of NIMBY, not in my backyard. And people say NIMBY's ruining development. That's not true. You know, if you're truly someone who wants a democracy,
You probably need to explain to them a little bit more about what you're talking about.
so not in my backyard means when somebody wants to develop something and they go to planning and zoning and people show up and protest that development. That's not in my backyard. That's, you kind of focus all that under that NIMBY umbrella.
So the community's coming in and the community's rising up against you.
Right.
Which in our city right here, what I'm hearing from one of our loser councilmen or councilwoman is that we got a concrete city.
Yeah.
And this is not a freaking concrete city. I mean, I own almost 70 acres in the middle of this city that's just land. I mean,
It's trees.
yeah, it's just trees. I mean, the whole city is minimal in concrete, but that's the stupid stuff that they're going to bring in because that gets them results whenever they start telling people, we don't want a concrete city. Well, the topography wouldn't support a concrete city no matter what.
No, and the balance has to be there. So here's the perfect example. You know, we had a sidewalk project moving forward for along Louisville Highway, the state U.S. Route 31. It runs through the center of Millersville, and that hasn't moved anywhere. I'm not sure what happened to it.
I noticed it come to almost a standstill too. Yeah.
Yeah, we had it rolling. We had engineering going and everything.
That's because the leadership in our community are morons. They don't really know anything about anything.
So now what happens when you drive down Louisville Highway? You see a mom from, you know, one of the little neighborhoods, the low-income neighborhoods, pushing a stroller down the shoulder of Louisville Highway. There are no shoulders on Louisville Highway. So they're basically at the edge of the traffic lane. 18-wheelers are coming up and down this highway.
One person texting and driving. I mean, all it takes. I mean, I notice a kid the last several days I come in, and I say a kid, he might be 21, 22, walking. I guess he must work at Dollar General or Subway or one of those places, but he's walking down the road every morning, and he's right on the edge of that road. And one person texting and driving can hit him and kill him. I mean, it's the smallest things. And this sidewalk project that we have had here has been approved for at least 5 years, right?
I think it's longer than that.
I mean, it's been approved a long time, and it has never happened because our leadership in our community won't make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
But I mean, so going back to the let's kill everything that isn't what I want.
Yeah.
But I mean, so going back to the let's kill everything that isn't what I want.
Yeah.
And that's really what this NIMBY argument is about, not in my backyard. But the problem on the flip side of it is by saying NIMBY is bad, period, is, you know, we say that we want to live in a democracy. Well, you and I both know that's not possible. We live in a representative republic. We elect people who go to the state house or the Capitol and implement policy, laws. So when we pick those representatives, they're the ones that are making these decisions. So what happens? So you have a development coming in. You have people upset about it, and they want to say they're going to kill this bat or this snail.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That's the attack they use on it. Because they don't
I've had environmental shut me down over a snail on a 200-unit project. On a snail. A snail.
So what ends up happening is that's how they attack the project to try to stop it. Well, here's the problem. Representative Republic. We voted for the person sitting at the dais. The community voted for that person to represent us. So if NIMBY's happening in your town for stuff that you don't think it should be happening for, that's your fault. You know?
Vote differently.
If you're going to develop in a town, so probably
So
95% of your people develop in one town. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So why aren't you involved in the representation in that town? Why aren't you at those planning and zoning meetings when a code is changed, when a building code or a development code is changed? Why aren't you there speaking during the public meeting? Every time they change a law, they have to have a public hearing. They have to allow the public to comment. And as a developer, you should be at every one of those making a difference, or have somebody there for bigger developers.
And if you're not a developer, you should be attending your city meetings, county meetings and stuff, just for the experience of seeing what's going on and how it all operates, because your vote counts so much more than you realize your vote counts, because when you bring the wrong people and they shut everything down all at once. And what I love to see is I love to see these people that live in this prestigious neighborhood, you know, quarter-acre lots.
Yeah.
Then they come out like our county representative Jerry Mansfield. He's gonna come out. He lives in a nice neighborhood with a nice house and loves his house. But yet anybody else that wants to build a neighborhood that they can sell houses in so other people can live in houses, no.
Right.
Not for you. It's not for you. This is only for me.
And that's exactly the bad side of NIMBY.
Yeah.
That's the bad side is, well, yeah, it's okay for me, but you know, we can't have anything in this neighborhood that's not what I live with right now. We can't do anything. We can't develop a piece of property because I've been living here peacefully for 20 years. Well, you should have bought the property then. If you don't want something to happen on a piece of property that's within the development code,
Go buy it.
go buy it. Go buy it. We actually had a hearing when I was sitting on planning and zoning, and the lady said, my kids play on that lot. If you build this complex, and it was senior apartments,
Yeah.
if you build this complex, where are my kids going to play? And I actually asked her, I said, so you're telling us you let your children trespass all the time? Because that's exactly what it is. If you don't own the property, they have the right to develop that property how they want. But at the same time, NIMBY is the most basic example of a representative republic that we can find. Because people go in, they're the squeaky wheel, and they get a change. You know, and if people can't ignore the squeaky wheel, then they're going to vote to make the squeaky wheel go away. And that shouldn't happen, you know. What should happen is what's best for the community and how the community is impacted. But, you know, this idea of NIMBY's bad everywhere is not true, because there's some things you don't want in your backyard, you know. I actually spoke against, they were going to put a pay-by-the-week motel in my backyard, literally in my backyard. And I went out and spoke against it. But I also had the sections of the code that I felt were usable to stop what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to, is NIMBY is the perfect example of the local level basic idea of representative republic. We voted for these people and now they're going to listen. So if they only hear one side, how are they going to vote? But yeah, we also have the problem of people who think they have everything they want is best for everybody. Yeah. And that person shouldn't be an elected official, because all they care about is what they care about. Yeah. They don't care about everybody else. They don't listen to anybody else.
And another thing now is, because now the county has went to where you can't drop anything less than 5 acres, right? Right. Anything less than 5 acres. So if you want to build a house, you got to have 5 acres. If you got 3 acres, you know, they won't let you subdivide it and do something with it. And that extra tax revenue for the person that builds on the 1 acre and a quarter acre lots and stuff is needed to take care of the infrastructure in the city. When we talk about the infrastructure, we're talking about somebody needs to maintain the roads. So that's maintained, any of the city roads are maintained by the city, and they're paid for by tax revenue coming in from the city. The creeks, anything that we got to do on that right there, we're paying, it's got to be paid through taxes. Around here, the sewer repairs and stuff's got to be paid through taxes. The sewer bill is supporting that or not?
Right. Yeah, the sewer bill has to support that, and if it doesn't, the state makes you raise your fees.
Okay. And but everything that we have here, we don't have a whole huge sales tax revenue in this city, so it's kind of minimal. So the property taxes, I would call our community we live in here a bedroom community. So there's not a lot of businesses here. People come in here, they sleep, they go to Nashville and they work. They go to Portland, they go to White House, they go to Hendersonville, Gallatin, and they work. Yeah. But then they come back here and go to sleep. So in this community, the only way for the city to make money is through taxes, through property taxes for the most part. And that is not, I mean, we got 6,000 residents, like 2,800 different parcels of land in this
something like
city.
That, yeah.
And, you know, that's not a lot.
No.
And then they want to cut it down and say, well, we're anti-growth. Well, if you're anti-growth, we can't pay our bills now.
Right.
So who's going to pay the bills if we can't pay our bills now? They're going to up your taxes. So then everybody's going to, you know, we just got, what, a 35% increase in taxes?
Yes.
So we get a 35% increase in taxes, and it still don't work. So then they got to do another tax increase again to make that work, and again and again and again, and we just keep struggling with the same crap.
Yeah.
Because we hire unqualified elected officials. I'm sorry, I'm not trash talking anybody, but if you don't have any experience in development, if you don't have any experience in what it takes to do a construction project, you ought not be on planning and zoning. If you don't know what it takes to zone off a parcel of land, and if you don't know the system and how everything goes, I don't understand how those people even do it. I mean, our planning and zoning board, I mean, it's all 70-year-old people that are freaking housewives and retired. You know, we got no young people on the board. So how do we bring growth into our city? How do we bring life? Okay, I can't say none. Minimal amounts of young people. How do we grow the community if we got people that don't understand how to grow the community? All they are is the land of no.
Right.
You know, can we do this? No. 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 What about this? No. They're never going to tell you how you can do it. That's another thing I need to realize when an not elected official, but whenever you go to codes, planning and zoning, don't say, can I do this? If they tell you no, say, how can I do it? What's an option that I can do? And let them help you. You got to ask your questions correctly. And if you ask it correctly, they will help you along. But if you don't ask it, this guy right here, we were friends, and I asked him if I could do something. I don't remember what it was, and his answer was no. There was no more answer at all. It was just no. So then, you know, when he finally comes to work for me, I asked the same question, and he says, no, you can't do it like that, but if you do this, then you can do it. So as a government worker, he's not going to tell me, hey, you can do it as long as you change to something else. He's just going to say, no, you can't do it, and that's just that. So you got to ask those questions around so that you're trying to get that person working with the government to give you an answer as to how you can do it. I understand I can't do it right now, but what can I do differently to do it? And y'all have heard me do a video several times about an old raggedy falling apart trailer that I bought. And I went to the city because I wanted to tear it down and build a house, and they told me, well, you can't do it because it doesn't meet the setbacks. So then I went and asked them again. You can't do it because it doesn't meet the setbacks. 3 years passed, and I was sitting down with the mayor, and he was working on a build that I was doing. And we were talking about it, and I said, man, I don't understand why y'all won't let me tear that trailer down and put a house there. I mean, it's an old, trashy trailer. He said, you can't do it without getting a variance. And I didn't know what a variance was. So I'm like, what's a variance? And he explained what a variance was. So then I called whoever the codes guy was at the time, or the inspector, and I talked to them, and they said, oh yeah, $400 you can apply for a variance. I applied for the variance. Like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I could tear the house down and build it, or the trailer down and build a house.
Right.
But nobody would tell me that. And chances are he accidentally told me, you know, because, but ask your questions properly if you're gonna deal with the city on stuff like that, because they're not gonna give you the information that you want. You're gonna have to request it in a certain way and asking certain questions. And don't be afraid of any of the people that represent you working for the city either. Don't say, well, I don't want to go talk to them because they're the mayor. The mayor puts his pants on the same as you put your pants on, one leg at a time. They ain't no special people. They're just the mayor. That's his job, to take care of the community. Go talk to him, ask him what you got. If you're going to go talk to a city manager, just make an appointment, go in there and talk to the city manager. Talk to the codes guy. Talk to any of them. They will all talk to you. Don't feel like they're out of reach, because they're not out of reach. None of them, I would say most of them, do not view themselves as they're better than you or better than anybody. They're just there to do a job.
You know, and to move further, if you're going to put a fence up, if you're going to put a shed in your backyard, anything you're going to do, go talk to the building official. Go ask them about it. Can I do this? Because there's regulations in place. Almost every city is going to make you build your accessory building shed behind the front building line. So if you're standing at your front door and look left and right, whatever you can see, you can't put a shed there. It has to be behind that building line. Some are backyard only. Some are not visible from the street. So you've really got to figure out how it fits into the zoning, because the city's absolutely allowed to put in zoning restrictions. Now, what they have to be able to do is show why that zoning restriction's there. I know a lot of cities just bury it with a bunch of zoning restrictions, but if they can't justify them, they're probably not going to win in court.
You can challenge them.
Yeah, but you really have to go down. So if you're building anything at all, especially if you're going to build investment property, if you're not meeting with the city before you even start your plans, you're making a mistake. You should be down there, sitting down with them, walking through it. You also need to talk to the utilities and see how the utilities expectations are. Because if you're building an investment property, you can't do it without electric. You can't do it without sewer. Well, sewer, septic.
Yeah.
But there's still regulations on the septic systems.
Yep.
Where's the water coming from? The bigger one right now, the biggest one that people always forget about is internet. Where's the internet coming from? How are we getting internet here? So that our renters or our buyers that are buying the home from us once we develop it, they're going to work from home, but here we didn't think about having high-speed internet at the house. So we really need to look at everything and look at the cross picture. But, we need to be careful with, it's just not in my backyard. That's the whole philosophy, because it's not about that, because the elected officials are doing exactly what they were elected to do. They're representing the republic. They're representing us, and they're making decisions based on the feedback they're getting. Where's your feedback? Why aren't you there giving feedback? At least write a letter. Write a letter to everybody on the Planning and Zoning Commission, give your opinion, and back it up with code. This should happen because of this. And it doesn't have to be your project. If someone's doing a similar project to you somewhere else in the city, write a letter of support about that. If they're developing, they're developing. Any way we can get developing to be positive in a community is a positive for us.
And that would be huge right here where we are. Yeah. If we had more people call these commissioners and tell them, hey, y'all are 70 years old and anti-growth because your next home is a graveyard, that is not the way the rest of the community feels. We are pro-growth. We do want to build the city. We do want to make it where we can pay less taxes. We want a better environment. Everybody wants a grocery store. Well, you can't get a grocery store if you ain't got but 6,000 people in your whole city. It's not coming. Now, we did have a council person say, I'm going to have one before November. Well, she's a liar. And I said she was a liar before she ever got elected from office, that she was a liar. Yeah. There's no way in the world you're going to do it. And, everybody's got their ideas of what they think. I think it should work like this. It doesn't matter what you think it should be. You have to go out and research what it actually is, because a lot of times we want something so bad that we will convince ourselves that it's doable, and it really is not doable. No. It's not doable. Investors are not going to come invest in your community if they can't make money. They're not. So if you want a grocery store, that grocery store ain't going to come into your community if they can't see a good profit.
Yeah. Every corporation is going to have, every major corporation is going to have development guidelines, minimum development guidelines. And if you look at those, there's going to be a number of rooftops. There's going to be a number of trips, cars going by. Mm-hmm. All that's going to be in their minimum development before they'll even talk to you. And you have to figure out, okay, how do we meet these? If we don't meet these, we need to go to a different company. The perfect example is there'd never be a Kroger in Millersville because there's one in Goodlettsville and there's one in White House. They probably wouldn't build one here, unless 30,000 people move here.
This city couldn't support a Save-A-Lot.
Yeah.
It could not support a Save-A-Lot.
Yeah.
And that was what, a 12,000 square foot building?
Probably.
If you can't support that, what can you support?
I don't know.
And the problem is people in the northern part of our city, it's too easy to hop on the interstate and go to White House, and you're at a Walmart, you're at a Kroger, you're at a Publix, you're wherever you want to go. All those stores are there, and they're less than 8 miles away.
Yeah.
So why in the world would you want to build? I wouldn't drive down here to go to a Save-A-Lot if I could go to Kroger and buy that Kroger. It just doesn't make sense to me, and that's just another way of looking at it. But there's so many people. I want a store. Well, then go get some money and build one.
There you go.
Go start your own store. Yeah. But you're going to fail because you're going to lose everything you got.
Exactly, and it's important to remember that there's a way to develop. Am I for free-for-all development? Absolutely not.
I'm not either.
Yeah. But, in the little corner of Walmart and White House is a great example. You've got development 4 deep. Mm-hmm. How does that work when you got it lined up 4 deep? That development doesn't have to go that deep. How do we do smart development and keep it on the roadway and keep the back for other things? Commercial along the main drag. I don't know. I see other things going
Coming
on.
up with housing in the back, apartment complexes, condo developments. I mean, look at Hendersonville, Indian Lakes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's surrounded with everything being in the front, and in the back of it, they got condos. They got some neighborhoods back there. They got different stuff right behind it all.
Senior homes.
Senior homes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. So what else we got?
I just wanted to get that NIMBY thing out there because I keep hearing that. Everything's NIMBY, not in my backyard, and I think they're missing the point.
Well, there's a lot of people that they're pro growth, but not in my backyard. I'm not pro growth. I'm not this, not that, and it is just funny. It's okay for me, but it is not okay for you.
Sure, but I sat on a planning and zoning commission.
It's kind of like Michelle Obama got on talking about the rich people the other day. They freaking got a half a dozen multi-million-dollar homes, and she gonna talk about rich people? How no good rich people are? You are the freaking rich people.
Get a clue.
Yes.
My favorite is when they show how much they were worth when they went in office and how
much they're worth now. Yeah, it is.
So we need to think about how do we get this NIMBY philosophy to be understood better. And this, like I said, you and I are pro democracy. We want a democracy. We don't want this socialism crap. We don't want people telling us how to do, the bad things being talked about right now. Rent control, price gouging laws. You've got grocery stores that make a 2% profit. 2%. That's all they make. And we're going to hold their prices down so that they can't make any profit?
Yeah, there's not
so we're going to run everybody
not a
out of business?
whole lot of room for anything. No. And you can talk about rent control.
Yeah.
I mean, with 7% interest rates, you have to get 1% of the rent to be, or 1% of the value of that property to even roughly break even. So if you got a $300,000 house and you're not getting $3,000 a month worth of rent out of it, chances are you're barely making it by or you're losing money. You're not making anything that's going to help you. So who wants to go invest $300,000 to barely get by? Yeah. Because the government says, well, rent's too high. Rent's freaking too high because y'all print too much money. Because y'all don't know how to manage the government, because we got people like our elected officials in Washington, D.C. and everywhere else making decisions.
And that's the other problem. Everybody's running around taught, oh my God, the presidential election, I'm over here or I'm over here. Well, I agree that this presidential election it needs to go one way, and I'm not going to even discuss
it needs to be. It's important.
Yeah, but at the same time, we talk about Congress and Senate, U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate. Okay, they don't impact our lives on a daily basis. You know who does? The governor impacts our lives on a daily basis. State reps, state senators, county officials, and local officials. That's who's impacting us. With local officials having the biggest impact. What's our public safety like? How's our public safety look? How is our street development going? Are we repairing the streets in a timely manner? Not just that, are we putting streets in that meet the requirements to last the 15 years they're supposed to last, 15, 20 years they're supposed to last? And that's really what we all should be focused on today in our societies, is how do we need to get past November and get President Trump in there. I'll just say it. Get President Trump in there. Let's fix the economy.
Bipartisan, not support any one group.
No. But at the same time, we don't need rent control, price gouging laws, $25,000. Tell me, what's $25,000 first-time homebuyers money going to do to the market here in Nashville? That's
nothing.
Already crazy.
It's going to do nothing.
Well, it's going to drive prices up.
Yeah, well,
because all the sellers know.
But $25,000 ain't going to help nobody buy nothing.
No.
I mean, it's just not enough money.
Well, yeah.
It's so out of control. Everything's just so out of control.
It's not even 10% here.
Well, we're struggling right now. So we got 6 vacancies here in this area.
7.
We got 7 vacancies in this city. I never have a vacancy in this city. Really, never have a vacancy in this city. But right now, we're running into is people can't afford rent.
Yeah.
Even though we are below market value on what we're advertising on our rent, people still can't afford rent. Yeah. Food costs went so high. Their vehicle costs went so high, and Lord help somebody if they just had to shut their cable off because they can't have a cable bill. So they'd rather not live somewhere than have no cable TV. all of these expenses are so much more than what they were 3 or 4 years ago, and people are living. They're stacking more people in a house. They're living with parents. They're doing everything they can do to survive. That's going to last for so long.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's,
my kids can move in with me,
yeah.
and I just experienced this where my son needed my son's landlord raised his rent $500 a month. I was that landlord. but he couldn't afford it. And I said, I'm not a charity case. This is not a charity. I'm not sitting here renting you a house to lose money on it. I'm not going to lose money on it. The deal was I would give you a discounted rate for 12 months, and that's it. 12 months was up, and he had to move out. So he was moving out, and he said, I'm going to move in with you. I said, you're not living with me.
How'd that work out?
He said, no one else is living with you. Why can't I live with you? So I finally agreed to it, and he moved in. I think he was there for 2 weeks, and he said, I found an apartment. I'm moving out. 2 weeks was enough for him to live with me. So there's a lot of people that can't afford to live where they live in, or can't afford to go do anything. But when they move in with their family and friends, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months is enough.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, time for you to go. So those people will be looking for some houses.
Well, we go, you talking about groceries. I was just complaining to the missus about this. We buy bags of Halo, the little 3-pound bag of Halos, the little tangerines, or mandarin, whatever they call them this week. And we go through a bag in a week. And I picked it up and I looked down at the price and it was $8. And I was like, oh, that's the 5-pound bag. Where's the 3-pound bag? And I looked back and it's a 3-pound bag. A 3-pound bag of tangerines for $8.
I bought some cherries the other day that was $14 for a bag of cherries. $14.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, I went to Kroger and you couldn't even find oranges the other day.
Yeah.
So,
people, y'all need to realize we are in trouble in our country right now. And if you're living in that world where you're thinking everything is fine, you need to step out of that world a little bit and just pay attention, because it is not fine. It's not fine at all. And we're fixing to probably come into some pretty hard times, I would say.
Yeah, and the whole idea behind talking about NIMBY, if you're not sticking your nose in your local government's business, but you're worried about what's being talked about on the national news, you've got that backwards. You need to be looking at your local government. You need to be looking at your county government. You need to be looking at your state government. You need to work your way up in concern, because the local government is the one that can keep you from putting a pool in your backyard.
Yeah.
The local government's the one that can keep you from putting a basketball hoop in your driveway.
Yeah.
There's actually towns that outlaw that. So you've got to figure out what's important to me. In my opinion, my day-to-day life is what's important to me. And that day-to-day life is impacted by local government.
Gotcha. Any closing words?
Not really. Questions, Nick?
Any questions?
No. Ask them if they do have any questions.
If y'all have any questions, please just type it in the bar. Nick will get them to us, and we'll try and answer them for you if you got anything from the governmental standpoint, code standpoint, land development. It doesn't really matter. Whatever question you may have, we're more than happy to take it and run with it, no matter what it is.
Yeah. You got questions yourself, Nick? Put them on the spot.
They say that like BlackRock and all of the big investment companies that are buying up real estate, they only actually own 1, 2, 3% of the.
I think so. So Nick is saying that BlackRock and the different people that own real estate only own 1 or 2%. I think what it is, institutional investors right now nationwide own about 7% of the total rental market. So that's BlackRock and everybody else out there that's institutional buying. They are at about 7%. But a lot of them are pulling out because the government is making it harder and harder for these institutions to be able to come in and buy these properties.
Does that have anything to do with the fact that they buy all these properties at 100 or 200K over asking, and it's just ruining the market?
It can have some, I don't know if they're buying it that much over 200K over asking, but I think that they don't come in with the community's best interests at heart. It gets old bringing people in that don't care about our community. One thing about us in this community is I am very, very, very pro Millersville. And I'm pro Millersville because I own a lot of houses in Millersville. And if I can pick up some crappy house, some dumpy house, or maybe it's a meth house and I got to tear it down. If I can pick that up and put a new house on there, it helps that house. It helps the houses around that house, but it helps every single house in my community.
Absolutely.
And several of those are ours.
Yeah.
So we own a lot of them, and it helps our property values go up. So I am all about doing whatever I can do to make my property value go up. But I'm also all about the fact that even if it doesn't make my property value go up, I'm going to do what's best for the community more so than what I'm going to do what is best for me. You know, or if it's something I want to do a deal, but it's not going to help the community, but it's just going to help me, but it's going to make it be worse for the community, I would walk away from that deal before I did the deal.
Well, you have.
Yeah.
You have. But, you know, it's a situation where if we improve the community, if we make the community better, it does nothing but improve our rentals.
Yeah.
And if we improve our rentals, it makes us able to get the rent a fair market value. Excuse me.
All right. Well, we do appreciate y'all watching. And if you got any questions, throw them out there to us. We'll get them answered on the next one. We're going to try and do at least 1 or 2 live videos a week. We haven't been doing that before, but I think that it's a good open discussion. We bring people in and do it. And we're going to film anyway. Why not film live? And typically, whenever I'm doing a whiteboard thing, Nick and I just throwing it out there anyway. So it's really not any different than doing it live. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. And if you want the questions answered, you know, throw them on there. Nick will get them to us, and when we talk, we'll answer them.
Nick, can we put something out there for the next live video? If you got questions you want to answer on the next live video, let us know.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have Nick put something on the back end somewhere on our platform so that
Our stories.
if you have something you need answered or something that you would like us to talk about on a live video, we'll be more than happy to do it, address it. And if you send it to him and we're going to address your particular issue on that video, we'll make sure that he contacts you and says, hey, we're going to go live at this particular point in time. If you want to hear the response there, you can. If not, we will have it saved and we'll post it for you.
Yeah, and in closing, you know, it's a situation where, for me in closing, it's a situation where if you're sitting back and letting things happen instead of being involved in the happening, then you shouldn't complain. And I used to tell people that all the time. When they would come and complain about what happened with one of my employees, I would say, okay, so what have you done for the community? Where's your volunteer time? And that I did that. So I worked full-time for a fire district and I volunteered for the city. So what are you doing in this community to make this community better? And that's really the question that I'll ask you is, what are you doing for your community to make your community better? Because you're expecting them to let you develop and let you rent houses, but what are you doing in return? And that's something that Winston just answered for himself. But we really need to focus on that as people in our situations and look to make a difference moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank y'all for watching. Again, if you got any questions, just send them out there to us. We'll post a video next week on it.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Thank you.